Hi everybody, we're here taping the third piece and final piece of our Bunkai, or the self-defense application of our Ishinryu Karate Kata, Seisan Kata. What I like about the kata is it's very good karate, but it also has a lot of pieces that can be construed as jiu-jitsu, aikido, or other arts, which I personally portray when I teach in our dojo. We try to stay very open-minded. It's how we teach every day. So hopefully I can inspire several of you, or at the very least our personal students, to continue training when they're not able to be in the dojo. So we're about to show you part 3 and the final piece of Seisan Kata. So I'd like you to picture the end of the kata, or the end of the last piece of part 2, where we did the rapid fire techniques in the center of the kata. Now we get to what I like is kind of the meat and potatoes of this kata. So I'll show you what Ishinryu would say what this move should be. So I just punched Chris. Now, I often say to my students, if you punch somebody and they're able to still grab your hand, I've failed. So we'll just presume somehow somebody got a hold of your hand. But in the kata, you would have done punch, punch, kick, and punch, and then the person grabs your hand and you sink down into horse stance and you pry their hand off, called a squat block. I do like that, but I don't, again, like to address it from the standpoint of you just hit them 4 or 5 times with kicks and punches, and then they miraculously could grab your fist. So let's just say for whatever reason the person grabs your hand. If we do it like Seisan, it would be like the kata, the karate version. We would pull their hand off and off they are, and we win. Well, in my opinion, I haven't won anything. I just got my hand free, and I still have to deal with him being able to hurt me, and now his anger has risen and all of that. So what I like to personally do is I could simply just get his hand off of me and hit him or kick him. That would be fine. But I like to do what I call keeping him. I like to keep him to myself. So I counter grab him, and as I sink in, I extend him. Inherently, there forms an arm bar in here that I love. Also, if I do this hard enough, there can be an acute injury to the front of the shoulder at the acromioclavicular joint. So lots of injury, lots of goodness here. So I'll show that again. He grabs my hand, I counter grab, I pull him in to keep him tight, I get my arm against his AC joint, I get his arm again. So I either pull hard here, I push hard here. Better, I do both. Boom. All right? Alone, that does a lot of damage to the person. So we left off at this motion. Now the next piece is this. I'm just going to leave Chris in space for a moment. The next piece in the kata looks like this. I do this motion and I pull back and I chamber. I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that think of it this way, but I surely do. So when I do this motion, my chamber is an elbow strike into the rib cage, which I love because it just continues the downward spiral of his ability to hurt me. So as I elbow, I just injured him, I stunted him, I brought his power down. From that point on, the next move is this. You would do a high block. So you would go here and high block and then a back fist. Now, for me, I like to do the bunkai as if there isn't another person involved. If there is, then we address that. But if Christopher is my only attacker, I hit him here, I hit him here. The high block gets his hand out of the way, and then the next motion is the back fist. So as I come up, I'm just going to turn just a little bit, and as I back fist, one of 2 things could happen. I could come down on my shoulder with a fairly injurious elbow motion, a hyperextension, or if I get to here and his elbow happens to bend in just a certain way, we're back to that same throw we did earlier. I'm just going to shift a little. We're back to that same throw we did earlier called Shihonage, where I step in and I'm going to let go for a moment. This motion of the back fist is actually my takedown to take him down. Remember, I've struck his AC joint, I've hyperextended his elbow, I've broken a couple of ribs. At this point, I'm just guiding him in for a landing in essence. So I'll do that sequence in smoother continuity real quick. So he grabs my hand, I hit him again, I come up, and again, there has to be a very fine-tuned feel here. If the elbow's straight, I just bring it down and I injure his elbow potentially injuring him greatly. If it's bent, and I sense that, and you'll know if you practice enough, then you can take him down with that Shihonage throw. The next move in the sequence, we just did the squat block, the high block, the back fist, Christopher's lane where I put him down with that throw. Now in the kata, if it was a karate-oriented rendition, another person or he, let's say I didn't take him down, grabs my wrist, so I step over into a crane stance as a brace or a buttress so that he can't pull me. It works, but the person will eventually overpower you. What I like about that move, I just took him down. Maybe I still have his hand to some degree. I like this as a kick as well. So this motion of stepping into the crane stance can actually be a kick, probably to the head, to the ribs, especially if they're trying to get up to continue to hurt you. So let me show that sequence in real time here. Never help your partner up, by the way. So this motion could be a kick, or if I didn't take him down, let's say I go back to my initial comment where there was another attacker, so I took care of this person, I took care of this person, and now he's able to attack me. So this high block becomes a legitimate high block. He comes to hit me, and I knock it out of the way and I hit him. But again, assuming my strike didn't take him out, he grabs onto me maybe, and this would be the Ishinryu translation, and he pulls me to pull me off balance. I would brace. The next move is a kick, and then he could either be kicking me, which again at this point is a little futile to talk about, and he's probably injured, or I like to use the low block as a clearing motion. So where the motion would look like this, for the rest of that sequence, for me it would look like this. I step, I kick him, and then I just clear his hand so that he's in my position, he's in my grasp, he's in my control, and it provides a good spot for me to do my punch as well, potentially. So we just finished the first sequence of the third part of the kata where I blocked Christopher and I punched him. Now, somebody grabs my hand, he grabs my hand, something, probably not right after that punch as we spoke about earlier. But the next piece is going to be easy to talk about because it's just a mirror image of the first piece. A little bit more difficult because it's left-handed if you're a right-handed person. So Christopher grabs my arm, I clear him off, just like we did earlier. Or Christopher grabs my arm, I counter grab. Here's the difference. He grabbed me with his right hand, as he did earlier, but it puts me in a different position than it did earlier. When he grabbed me with my right hand earlier, it was his right hand, so when I did this, I was behind his arm and had the arm bar. But because he's grabbing my left side, and I grab here, I still have an arm bar, but I'm on the opposite side. So I also have to now contend with the fact that his other arm is there to injure me. So I have to move more quickly, and be more aware of it. Fortunately, I've done some damage here. Now what's the next move? I turn, can't probably elbow him, but I can surely get out of the way and in position so he can't hit me with that other hand. And then I don't have the ability to do an arm bar because his arm would bend, but I can surely get him out of my way. I can get him into position so that I can step. So the next move would look like this. So in this scenario, I got him here, and I kick him and I bring him down. Here's the low block to continue control and potentially a finishing move there, potentially.